Okay, so I decided to do two parts because I know you all, the moment you see anything more than, I don't know, 20 minutes, you're not rocking with it. I am back again. Please check the previous video that precedes this one. And again, I just want to be clear that this is based on the assumption that you have watched the episode and you are looking for insights and thoughts and revelations in response to the episode, and not a blow-by-blow recount and review of what happened in the episode. I am doing thoughts, revelations, insights. I'm not doing review of what happened. So if you're looking for that, swipe left and go to something else. But if you're looking for this kind of video, please stay tuned, and also go into the description box, because there I have chapters / timestamps that help you to do a quick navigation through the video if that's what you're looking for, and you can watch exactly what you want and skip through parts of the video that you're not necessarily piqued by in interest. There's usually a break after the first day, and then the next day happens. So now in the next day, Deirdre and Iyanla meet, and obviously the same question that Iyanla asks all the time in the next day: what are insights that you had from last night, from yesterday, during the night? What thoughts, both people? And Deidre says that, you know what, the most revealing thing is that she, again, going back to making excuses, she says she excused her addict father's behavior, and because his behavior was disappointing, and but she always excused it, and that she found that she does this with Idris. Just like as a child, she couldn't tell her father, I'm disappointed that you don't do the things you're going to say. I'm disappointed in you that you are a father, but you're also choosing to be a drug addict. That was her not being able to tell the truth to her father, and therefore not being able to have any kind of intimacy with her father. And because she felt that kind of trauma and powerlessness in that dynamic of the relationship with the father, that's how she's showing up in her relationship. There's moments with Idris that she is feeling some kind of disappointment, but she does not communicate it. She doesn't tell the truth about it. She doesn't relay clear communication about it, but she embodies it. And that's the kind of thing that makes you show up as a child in your marriage and not as a woman. Because what I'm learning from this episode is that showing up as a woman is showing up knowing that you can stand up for yourself and articulate your truth and articulate your piece with your man, and not as a child, but as an adult, as a woman who is in her own authority, and within her own right to be able to articulate the things that are grieving her experience within the relationship. This episode embodies, or rather demonstrates, open intimacy in relationship, and communication in relationships. But the question mark that I had is that, what if a wife or the husband, you show up in this manner in your marriage, and you're dealing with a partner who keeps showing up as the child in the marriage? What happens then? Because then that creates this kind of cognitive dissonance where you have decided to show up as an adult and communicate your truth and your in all honesty, and your piece in all honesty, and communicate it in a way that is not a accusation, but that is seeking to have an open conversation. You show up in that way, but your partner is still showing up as a child. What happens then? And I would really be interested in finding out from you if you have any suggestions, or, you know, I would be actually interested in finding out what Iyanla would have had to say about that. What happens when one partner is showing up now as a woman or a grown man, and then the other partner is showing up as a little girl or a little boy? What happens when there's that dissonance? How does that then happen? Because if that's happening, then one partner is probably willing to go into couples therapy and the other one isn't. One partner is willing to have the conversation, the one partner is showing up wounded. The one partner is willing to have the conversation, speaking with a level of respect, but speaking their truth, and the other partner is showing up, fighting and defending and accusing. What happens when the partners aren't on the same page in how they show up? That's the question mark that I have for Miss Iyanla. The conversation then with Iyanla while they're having tea/breakfast is that what is the woman, the question that she puts to Deirdre is, what is the woman that you want to be? And Deirdre says that, she wants to be herself and open and feel free to be herself. And she finds that she censors herself and filters herself, and then Iyanla points out to her, it's because she thinks she's talking to her father. But when you're talking to your man, you no longer have to not show up as yourself. And as a powerless little girl, you can show up as a woman, and it encourages her to create a new vision of herself as a woman. And starts with her hair. She says, look, I can see in your hair is the hairstyle of a young teenager. You're showing up as a little girl. That's a telltale sign that you, in your relationship, you're showing up as a little girl. But I'm like, I like my hair like this, And she's like, I like my hair like this. And I'm like, girl, I like your hair like that. And I like my hair like this. But, Miss Iyanla's like, but it's a telltale sign that you're showing up as a little girl in your marriage. And I'm like, I like my hair like this. But I got the point that she was saying. Because, the question to the self of how you show up affects how you then communicate in your relationship. Again, and how you relay your concerns. Do you show up as a woman, or do you show up as a wounded young girl? Do you show up as a man, or do you show up as a wounded young boy? And that's a great insight to just see that how you present yourself, how you dress, how you carry yourself is really a representation of how you are showing up. And I've never really thought of it that way, in the sense of, I like high tops. I like pants. I like comfortable clothing. But I might be showing up as a teenager. I might be showing up as younger than I really am, and so might be treated as younger than I really am. I don't know. But I think it's an important lesson and something to take into consideration. One of the important questions that Iyanla had with Idris is, who are you accountable to? And Idris is like, I'm accountable to myself. And she was like, ooh, I have a problem with that. Are there any men that you're accountable to? And within your spiritual practice, are you accountable to anybody there? And Idris is like, I'm accountable to myself. And Iyanla was like, I encourage you to plug in with a circle of men who have learned how to show up as men in manhood, and also go plug into that submission to your God, so that you are not this man who's running amok and doing whatever he wants and is not accountable to anybody. So in the conversation the next day, Idris says that the thing for him that came up is the importance of going back to, the roots of his religious belief and his religious practices, and really submitting himself to that so that he can be accountable to God in that way, whatever God he's working with, to be accountable to God, so that he's not this man who's just doing whatever he wants, when he wants to, and how he feels like. And that is obviously a way to be anchored and have a spiritual foundation, so that he's not out on his own. in this world, but that he's anchored in something, and that something informs how he shows up as a man, informs how he shows up as a father, informs how he shows up as a businessman, you know. After these, you know, individual conversations the next day, you know what the conclusion is that comes up is that both married each other's father or mother, and what is showing up in their marriage is a sign of what is unresolved with their parents that needs to be resolved, so that they show up as a woman and a man, and not as a little boy and a little man and a little boy in their marriage. At the end, both of them, the challenge is to resolve whatever has happened in their childhoods that has made them feel powerless, and understand that they no longer have to be bound to the trauma or the experience of that, but that now they can create a new experience of who they want to be as grown adults, and show up therefore as grown adults in authority in their lives, as opposed to you just kind of go back into being a little girl and you respond as a little girl, or you respond as a little boy, you know. And I thought that's very important. And how you do that is that you then begin to create goals and a dream for your marriage as a solid foundation that you remind yourselves of. Because part of also how you show up as a child in your adulthood is if you don't put away what was handed over to you and passed down to you, that doesn't work for you. And for me, this was the what really set me free in life and helped me to show up as a adult in my life, is that once I took stock of what was passed on to me and what was modeled to me, and the things that no longer served me and the things that were not constructive to me, I did away with them. The things that were not reflective of who I am and resonated with who I am, I got rid of them, and I kept very few things that were helpful to me. And then I created a life for myself based on a vision for myself and for my life that makes sense to me, not that makes sense to me based on what was passed on to me or what was modeled to me or what was handed down to me, but what makes me happy, what makes me feel like I'm in my own authority, what makes me understand my world, what makes me understand my life and be happy with the choices that I'm making. It's not what was modeled, it's not what was passed on, it's not what was insisted upon and pushed onto me, but it's what I decided, this is what works for me from all of that came from my parents. And then everything that doesn't work, doesn't resonate, is not reflective of who I am, I did away. This is what came out for me in this final part of this of this episode, is that when a dream for a marriage dies, when you outgrow and work through your childhood traumas, so that you can now show up as an adult and not as a child in your relationships, then a new dream is able to come out of you, and a new vision and a new direction as a result is able to come up for you, and you're able to navigate as an adult in authority and not show up as a child in your relationship. You're able to tell the truth, you're able to communicate clearly, you're able to be open and create intimacy by speaking to the person that you're in a relationship with in a way that will make them move in the way that you need them to move, in order for a certain something to be sorted out or a certain issue to be dealt with. And so you know, in watching this episode, I was like, this is one of the more quieter, I'm not going to use the word boring, but the more quieter kind of episodes. But I watched it again and I said, there has to be something for Iyanla to have chosen this. There has to be something to learn from this this episode. And I watched it again. I think I was just maybe having a lazy, sleepy day yesterday, and I was like, oh, there's a lot to learn here about how to show up in and as a woman and a man in your relationship or in the world, how to show up as an adult, and just looking at how much womanhood and manhood is really skipped over, and parents are literally releasing children into the world, into woman and man responsibilities, never having taught them womanhood, never having taught them manhood. And it's important that in your own life, if this hasn't been done for you, then that you break the pathology and begin to fortify and build yourself up to be able to show up in your fullness as an adult, as a woman, and as a man. That is it for this episode. I will see you again next time. Thank you for continuing to watch. If you have not clicked like or share or commented below, please do those things right now. And I will see you again next time. Bye.